On this digital clip, we're going to look at the presuppositions of coaching. Great coaches believe some really interesting things about the capabilities of human beings. And what the presuppositions give us is a great guide to what is a good way of thinking about human beings and their potential. So let's start with the first presupposition. And that is, the map is not the territory. When a human being describes the world to you, they're describing the world based on their map, not what the territory actually looks like. Have you ever been driving your car, stopped for directions, and had somebody give you very explicit directions? And when you follow those directions, you find that it wasn't half a mile, it was 2 miles. That it wasn't 2 traffic lights, it was 3. They described the world the way they saw it, yet the ground didn't replicate what was going on inside their head. As coaches, it is really important for us to recognize that the map is true to them, and it rarely is the territory. And through the process of deletion, generalization, and distortion, we make the outside world fit our limited model, and that's our map. The next presupposition to consider as a coach is that experience has structure. And this reflects back on a tool we've already looked at, which is VACOG. VACOG gives us a clue as to how the person listens, learns, recalls, and communicates their own experience. An experience as structure starts to give us a clue as to how we change behaviors. Because if we change the structure of somebody's experience, it changes the behavior instantaneously. And once you've scratched the record, the behavior can't be repeated without a skip in the track. And that's a great tool as a coach. Another great presupposition as a coach is that everyone has all the resources they need for success or can find them. And this leads us on a journey as coaches to model excellence, either in other people or in ourselves. Because we work on the simple principle that if one person can learn to do something well and we can model them, anybody can learn to do it well by copying the same behaviors, values, beliefs, identity, and purpose. And there are various tools as coaches we deploy for modeling success. And it's based on the principle everyone has their own answers. Quite a challenging presupposition is the meaning of communication is best defined by the response you get. How many times when we explain to somebody how to do a task, we go away happy in the knowledge, we've told them everything they need to know, and we come back and they've just done completely the opposite of what we asked because they didn't get what we said, and we blame them. The meaning of communication is the response you get puts the onus and locus of control on ourselves. And if we didn't get the result we wanted, it's very easy to blame the other person for not getting what we said, when the reality is we need to change our communication to help them see, feel, and hear what it is we're trying to describe to them so they can deliver the same result too. My favorite presupposition for managers and leaders is this one. You cannot not communicate. And it's a really interesting challenge for managers and leaders because we believe we go out into the world influencing people in a positive way to do our bidding. Yet how many times do you hear people say things like, well, we didn't talk about that, or we didn't talk about this, or safety's not important, safety's not a priority. Yet we consistently seem to try and send the same messages. We probably only meet our employees on such a short and fleeting moment. What message do they get when we're not there? And if we walk by somebody doing a task, whilst we've said no words, we've still communicated how we feel about that or this situation. So you cannot not communicate helps us start to understand not only the words we do say, but more importantly, the words and actions that we don't. Our modelling excellence presupposition is this: if what you're doing isn't working, do something else. Even if you just change the thought before the action changes in its own right. And this takes us on a quest to challenge everything we do by making the smallest adjustments in an incremental stage to see what results we get instead. The presupposition that probably best describes the world of today is this: we all live in our own unique model of the world. And this helps us start to understand the fact that human beings don't act in accordance with what is the norm. They don't act in accordance with what everybody believes. We act in accordance with what is our own picture of reality, our own model of the world. And it doesn't seem to matter that the majority of other people think that's nuts. If it's our model, we will act in accordance with it. And this helps us start to come to terms with the fact that human beings can do the daftest things because we have different models. If that's what we do around here, it becomes our natural behaviours. People work perfectly. This presupposition sets us up with a really interesting challenge, because it challenges us to look at every single behaviour we see, and no matter how crazy, how out of the box it is, us thinking that's insane, that makes no sense. Because the unconscious mind, through a lifetime of experiences, learns to drive behaviours that have kept that person on the planet to date. And however crazy they are, it works for them. One of the most universally challenging presuppositions is every behaviour has a positive intention. Far too often when we're trying to change people's behaviours, we focus on the negative experiences or consequences that they're going to suffer because of that behaviour. And we try and up the ante, make it worse. But I guess the reality is this: if we don't understand the driver for that behaviour, the why behind the how and the what, we'll never truly change. So by understanding the intent, we stand a chance of modifying the behaviour. By trying to take away the consequences or experiences of that behaviour, most people will just find they can replay the behaviour and get a different output in a different way. One of the most personally challenging presuppositions is perception is projection. This puts the onus on us as coaches to look at our beliefs about the coachee. It challenges us to consider what we hold and believe to be true about the potential of this person. If we can't see magnificence in the person we're coaching, how on earth can we coach that person to achieve it? At a deep subconscious level, they would get the message, we're just going through the motions. And that's a key for us. The presupposition that gives me the most hope as a coach is that the mind and body are part of the same system. For centuries, people have thought about the mind and the body as being two separate entities. Yet modern science is proving to us there is no such separation between the mind and the body. In fact, when you think a thought, you create chemistry. But the chemistry of thought doesn't just happen in the brain, it happens all over the body. And as we think a thought, our nervous system responds, our immune system responds, and our brain responds by creating chemistry that changes every single cell around the body. If we help somebody change the way they think, we don't just change the person they are, we change the person they become, because our cells are constantly eavesdropping through the mind-body connection on our dominant thoughts. So if we just simply change a frown to a smile, a doubt to a possibility, we change the physical body too. And that's a great place to start.